Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my June wrap up. In the month of June, I read 7 books, which is one less than I put on my June TBR, which is super exciting because I have not had the chance to almost complete my TBR before in any months this year, so that's really exciting. So I'm just going to be going over my thoughts and my star ratings, so let's get right into it. The first book that I read in the month of June was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is a fantasy set in a library where our main character takes care of sentient books. The books are very revered by the sorcerers of these worlds, and so they hold magical secrets and kind of spells, and they're very, very important to magical society. But one day something happens where Elizabeth is actually a suspect in a crime and has to then get exiled to live with this sorcerer named Nathaniel Thorne. This book is amazing. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I thought that it was so well thought out and the plot was engaging. The characters were amazing. I think that Nathaniel might have been my favorite character next to Elizabeth, but Silas, who you learn about towards the kind of middle of the book, is a very compelling character, and I think that Margaret should do a novella specifically based on him and his life because he's such an interesting character to me. I also thought that the relationship was actually very fleshed out, very natural and organic. It didn't feel rushed or inorganic to me. I thought that it was just a very, very wonderful relationship where the two partners kind of benefit from each other. I also thought that the lore behind this novel was really, really interesting. Just the thought of sentient books in a library full of people taking care of them is just so interesting to me. And I've said it before in my vlog, but this book reminds me of a game franchise by BioWare called Dragon Age, and the first game, Dragon Age Origins, has a couple of different characters that you can do. It's an RPG based game, and one of the characters is a magic wielder that lives in a huge tower in the middle of the sea, and just the thought of all of these books being alive reminded me of that because the Towers of Magi, they're called, have like these huge libraries, and so I just thought that that was an extra little thing that I loved about this book. The next book that I read in the month of June was Down Amongst the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. I buddy read this with Kaylin from Kaylin Abridged, and I will leave her channel up here. Now, I've talked a lot about these books on my channel, but this was a reread for me. I reread the Every Heart a Doorway book, which is the first book in this series, last month, and so I thought that I would carry it on and reread the second book. So these two children, Jack and Jill, they are twins, and they stumble down a stairway in their attic closet and come out on the other side in the moors. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars again because it is my favorite book in this series. Jack specifically is my favorite character because she deals with OCD, which is something that I also deal with, and it was just really wonderful seeing that represented in a fantasy novel because I do believe that fantasy novels need to do a better job of giving representation to mental illnesses, because why wouldn't you have a mental illness in a fantasy place? Like, it doesn't make any sense that people don't have mental illnesses in fantasy places. Need more of that. If you have any suggestions for fantasies that have mental illness rep, let me know down in the comments because I would love to read some of them. But yes, give this a 5 out of 5 stars. My favorite book in this series. Love it so much. The next book that I read in the month of June was Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina May Safi. So this book is amazing. It is a queer hate to love story about 2 girls in high school, and it's just wonderful. It's cute, it's romantic, it's funny, and I just absolutely loved it. Sana is a Desi Pakistani girl who is being forced by her parents to pursue higher education, and she's not sure if that's really what she wants. And then Rachel is a Mexican Jewish girl who has a full ride to NYU for film school, but she has to make sure that she finishes this film that she's been nitpicking at for the better part of like 9 months. And so it follows these 2 girls as they kind of navigate through why they hate each other and eventually how they start loving each other. The queer representation is really good in this. Senna especially I have a lot of connection with. So her family knows that she's a lesbian but doesn't really acknowledge it, and I thought that was really interesting to see from a culture that wasn't my own and see how much I actually still connected with it. And yeah, I just loved this book so much. If you are looking for a queer hate to love, I would highly recommend this. I think that it is just absolutely an important, amazing, innovative story navigating through the complexities of high school and relationships in high school. The next book that I read in the month of June was my favorite book of the entire month, and that is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is a contemporary fantasy romance set in modern day Seoul, and our main character Gu Mi-young is a gumiho, or a nine-tailed fox demon that devours the souls of men in order to stay alive, and she has put it upon herself to only eat the souls of bad men, which still not super moral, but she does it to kind of feel a little bit better about her existence. And she meets our other main character Ji-hoon in the woods as she's having like a fight with a demon, and her soul bead, or her gumiho bead, gets expelled out of her body, and she has to work with Ji-hoon, who is the only person who knows about her identity, to figure out a way to put her soul bead back inside of her body. This is kind of a hate to love, but like not really. It's more of like a rivalry to love, and the relationship in this is like top tier. It's so good. It's funny, it's witty. Ji-hoon is my darling string bean. I love him so much, and it just navigates through a whole bunch of different issues. I would put a trigger warning on here for death and the loss of a loved one, and then I would also put a trigger warning on here for child abuse and child neglect, because Ji-hoon does kind of experience some issues with that. But overall, I think that this is a absolutely solid book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so good. If you are looking for some more like quick reads that look really big, I would highly recommend this, because this is like 450 pages, but I went through it so fast, so highly recommend that. The next book that I read in June was Obeah July by Lisa Bunker. So this is an absolutely amazing novel that I wish more people knew about. I did not know what I was expecting when I went into this, but I came out feeling so rejuvenated and hopeful after reading this book. If you don't know what this is about, it is a middle grade story about a trans girl who escapes her very, very religious Bible thumper dad and goes to live in Portland, Maine with her two gay aunties. This has a lot of representation as well. There's trans representation, there's agender representation, there are many characters of color, and then there's also a lot of issues dealt with within this book. Not only is it dealing with trans issues and the issues that come with being a part of a very religious family, it also deals with bullying, racism, and cyberbullying. So it's really interesting how this story manages to deal with all of those things but still be such a solid, amazing novel. I think that we definitely need more middle grade novels talking about these sort of issues, because whilst I do believe that there are certain things we shouldn't talk about with kids, I don't believe that these are one of them. I do believe that every sort of human should be represented in middle grade novels in order to teach kids about the diversity of actual life, and not having to pigeonhole their viewing of the world into white, cis, heteronormative themes. I just think that this is so important and this is so well done. I didn't mention this, but this is Own Voices. Lisa Bunker is a trans politician in America. I do believe she is a governor in New Hampshire, and this one was even important to me. Whilst it's not part of my specific experience, I do believe that I gained a lot of knowledge throughout this, and I just think that a lot more people should know about this and read this. If you are looking for more trans literature to go on your shelf, I would highly recommend this one because it is very well written. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in June, I am so happy that I finally have read this, and that is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This story is about a non-binary teen who gets kicked out of their parents' home after coming out to them. I don't even know where to start with this book. Not only is this book super important to me because of all of the non-binary representation and the fact that it said non-binary on page, my heart. This book talks a lot about depression and anxiety as well, and the depression and anxiety rep is amazing. I do believe that that is Own Voices as well, not just Own Voices for the non-binary rep. This book actually extensively illustrates what it's like to be in a therapy session, which I appreciated so much because I never saw any good representation of therapy when I was reading books like this in high school. Like, I loved Ellen Hopkins books, but I don't believe they were good representation of what it's like to be in a therapist room. I just thought that they were over romanticized, but this is not over romanticized. It views things, especially mental illness, from both a queer and mentally ill rep, and it's so sensitive but yet packs a huge punch. And the relationship in this is so cute. So cute. Ben is such a wonderful human, and they are one of my favorite characters, and they just deserve the world, and they get that at the end of this novel. It wraps up so nicely, and it's just, oh, I love this book so much. It's ingrained itself into my heart, and it's one of my favorites of all time, and everybody needs to read this book because it is just absolutely wonderful. If you didn't know, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, so what are you gonna do? The last book that I read in the month of June was Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. So this is a sapphic romance between a character who moves to Scotland from America to attend a prestigious boarding school and the Princess of Scotland. This was so freaking cute. The romance was really cute. So cute. This was exactly what I needed to like end my month because it was just so fluffy. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was almost perfect, and I just thought that the relationships were so dynamic and the characters were so dynamic. I would highly recommend this to people looking for like a really quick read, because I think this is only like 260 pages, so it would be really quick. I read this in like 2 days, so yeah. And there you have it. That is my June wrap up. I did really well this month. I read 7 books, which is awesome, and I gave every single book a 5 out of 5 stars, which is even more awesome. I found some of my favorites in this month, and I'm just really pleased with the books that I read. Let me know down in the comments below if you read any of the same books as me. If you have a different rating, I would love to chat with you in the comments. As always, all of my social media links will be down in the description box below if you'd like to follow me on my Twitter, my Instagram, or my Goodreads. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for 1K. I haven't announced anything yet, but I will be announcing something soon, so keep an eye out on my channel for that. But again, thank you so much for 1K. I appreciate all of you, and I am so thankful that you like my content enough to give me 1,000 subscribers. Like, that's a lot of people. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!